On weigh-in this morning, Tangerine talent shines again. Ladarada makes it 8 for Tiako 2-year-olds before Damask Rose blooms brilliantly. Doubters take a seat for 2 stars. Yes, Crescetti's back in the winner's circle and in a Group 1 at that. While Orchestral's back in perfect tune in a dazzling Aotearoa Classic display. And Chris Waller brings 1 horse to our big night and wins. Konosana claims a head bobber in the Westbury Classic. A very good morning to you. Welcome in to this special edition of Weigh In live from the Karaka yearling sales. Yes, indeed, the morning after the night before. Jane Ivel is alongside me, as you can see. Jane, morning to you. The weather didn't play ball last night. It's not playing ball this morning, but still a great night's racing last night at Ellerslie. Morning to you. Morning to everybody that's tuning in. Look, the weather's certainly not playing its part. It's been bucketing down this morning as it did last night at Ellerslie, but it didn't dampen anyone's spirits. And although the second half of the program was run in inclement weather, what we did see is some really wonderful performances on the racetrack, and there's plenty to talk about over the next hour. I'm really excited about the show this morning, excited that we're here at Karaka. As we know, the race meeting flows into the sales. That's already got underway here at the Sales Complex this morning, so everybody is out and about despite the rain, and hopefully we'll be catching up with a few people. Well, one of those people who is out and about is of course Emily Murphy. Emily, will come to you. You are slightly braving the conditions, but good to have you in. You were there last night as well. What did you make of it?
Oh, it was such a good night, wasn't it? An amazing atmosphere despite the weather, and the quality races, they were just epic. That really short, sharp program, it certainly delivered. I love the addition of the Group 1 at the end of the card as well. This morning, I'm going to be your roving reporter. We're going to be talking to a number of the winning connections from last night to get the latest from them. Hopefully not interrupt their day of work here at the sales, where they're going to be hoping to buy the next champions for next year.
Good stuff, Emily. We'll be with you throughout the show, but let's rip straight into things from last night, starting, of course, with the 2-year-old won by Ladarada.
Number 10 is Ladarada, honest type, placing at its latest outing. Worked home really well and behind 2 sweets.
Wider out there with Guard, looking to run on Romanov. Now, where are these favourites? They're a fair way off them. 2 Sweet down the extreme outside. Into Bravery Born, looking to warm up late. Down to the 250. Ladarada's in front. From the right, there also now we've got Hello Romeo. They're getting out to Bravery Born. Vega for luck. It's Ladarada in front for Craig Williams. Coming after it, Vega for luck late, but it's another Tiako victory. Ladarada wins the 2-year-old Karaka Millions. Ladarada's won it for Tiako. They've done it again. Their 8th win in the race. Craig Williams has taken it out.
Yeah, honestly, it's hard to describe. It's been such a big build-up, and there's been so much happening, and we've been taking a bit of a blood nose here early on. So, like, it's relief. It's, you know, I'm ecstatic. I'm so thrilled for everyone involved. It's a massive ownership group. She's not very big, but she's such a gutsy filly, and a massive thank you to the team at home as well as Dave for purchasing these horses. You know, extremely lucky to be in the position I'm in, you know, and have the privilege of training these horses like this. It's a massive thrill on a night like this.
It's crazy to see people be what society wants them to be, but not me.
Yeah, so Ladarada from Vega for Luck, Miss Ziggy, and to Bravery Born. Jane, there was plenty of confidence in the Tiako camp around Ladarada. I thought she paraded well. You were in the parade, obviously, looking at them. What did you make of her pre-race and then her performance?
Well, I think that when you look at her on type, she sort of epitomises a 2-year-old. She's not a horse that's got a lot of leg under them. She's quite short across the back, and just really built for speed. She's bred for speed. Her dam was really quick, and that's exactly what you see when you look at her. She just looks like a real runner. So perfect type of horse for a 1200-metre race at Ellerslie. And what I learned from the stable throughout the night was that she's a really tough little filly too, and I liked her attitude on race day. She was one of the only 2-year-olds from Te Akau that spent the majority of her time in the tie-ups. She was just lovely and quiet and asleep, and that sort of translated into her parade. She was very professional. She did things right. So I think obviously some changes of gear with the camp as well. They're astute trainers, there's no doubt about that, Mark Walker and Sam Burgesson, and the whole Te Akau team. The fact that they've been able to pick up their 8th win in this race is actually quite incredible. They've been really dominant. They obviously know the right types of horses to buy for this race. They paid $190,000 for this filly by Super Seth, and he's now claimed his 5th individual stakes winner as a sire as well, so he's doing a great job.
Yeah, Emily will chat to Sam Burgesson very shortly, but let's get to some vision of the race. Ladarada from, where is she? From relatively close to the inside there, about barrier 5. Jumped pretty well, and Craig Williams put her straight on the speed.
Well, I think with these 2-year-old races, they're really won and lost at the barrier draw and won and lost once the field jumps. And look, there was a little bit going on at the barrier. We do know that the other Te Akau filly, Beldemon's, had a warning put on her for her barrier manners, but a couple of horses that were a little bit tardy away. Miss Ziggy copped a little bit of interference out of the barrier, and we also saw Toretto get back. The horses that had speed that we knew were going to make themselves prominent was the colt from the Lindsay Park stable and Hello Romeo. He did just that. He couldn't actually cross Ladarada. She got to the fence pretty quickly and she held her position. So he led, but he sat outside her on the rail. The unfortunate runners in the race, and you've got to really feel for Royden Burgesson. He did a wonderful job to get 2-year-olds into the race. In the air, sat wide, up on speed, and Too Sweet just had no opportunity whatsoever to get in. She actually jumped with the field, but unfortunately didn't muster as quick as some of the horses on the insider, and unfortunately sat wide throughout the race. But as you can see, not much changed in the home straight. Ladarada actually showed a really nice kick, considering that she sat up on speed, and sat up on speed sort of right next to another runner in Hello Romeo. We saw him swamped late. There were some actually really nice runs in behind. Bravery Born was really good to the line. Vega to Luck was a horse that had the right position in the running and certainly made his presence felt. I thought there was a couple of eye catches from out the back, and in particular the horse of Andrew Carson's. Spent $250,000 on this filly, and Miss Ziggy. Trained in the South Island, he prepared her beautifully for the race. She had a look around Ellerslie. He did absolutely everything right. Unfortunately, she copped a bit of a check coming out of the barriers, got back in the field, and then actually had to clear heels in the home straight and was held up for a period of time. I thought she was incredibly strong through the line, and when you look at her on type in the mounting yard, she looks like the kind of horse that's really going to develop into a nice 3-year-old. And there's a number of runners that went round in that race yesterday that I think were Beldemont, certainly one of those, Daylight Robbery the other. So it is a race that we have seen in history. Horses train on out of it and go on to do things further in their career, and I genuinely think we're going to see that out of this race.
Yeah, I thought Miss Ziggy was huge in that race. So it was Ladarada from Vega for Luck, Miss Ziggy, and 2 Bravery Born. You mentioned Te Akau's success in this race, now 8 winners in this 2-year-old race in its history. What does that say about their operation? I mean, obviously they come here and they look to buy horses that can win this 2-year-old race.
Well, I think that's what we heard from them post-race too. Since this whole initiative has been developed by New Zealand Bloodstock, they have gone to the sales and purposely bought horses and selected horses for this race. And there's no doubt that they're a terrific judge of a yearling. They buy the right horses, and that has shown in the results that we've seen in the racetrack. I thought that her run in the Eclipse, Ladarada, was actually very good in behind Too Sweet. The feedback on that day was that the race was just run too slowly for her. It was sort of a sit and sprint. It didn't suit her racing style. What I liked about what they did on Saturday night or last night was the fact that they played around with her gear a little bit, sent her forward from the barrier, made sure that it was a genuinely run race, and they got the result that they wanted. So I guess a lot plays on behind the scenes, but they really are masters in the way they develop their 2-year-olds and the way they come through, and obviously hitting a peak for this race.
Yeah, and fantastic to see the likes of Craig Williams here, to see him not only riding but riding a winner in a big race on the card?
I actually think it's really important to acknowledge Craig Williams. He is obviously the third win he's picked up in the race. He was battling a few injuries yesterday. He actually had an ankle that he was having a lot of trouble with. He actually limped into the race course. He picked up a bug, he thought, on the plane coming over from New Zealand. So throughout the race day, he actually wasn't feeling 100%. You wouldn't know that in watching him ride. And I actually just saw through on social media, I've always said Craig Williams is the wonderful ambassador for racing. And on social media this morning, there was a tweet put out, him and his wife Larissa, they do an incredible job in the aid of those that are obviously having trouble in Ukraine. They've actually raised over $3 million in the fundraising that they've been doing recently. So he's an incredible human being on the track, but also off the track as well. He's just, as I said, a wonderful ambassador for racing, and I think it's really important for New Zealand racing that we have jockeys of his quality come over and ride at meetings like this.
Yeah, too right. Alrighty, we'll hear from Sam Burgesson very shortly, but let's hear from the beaten jockeys out of the 2-year-old.
Yeah, look, he was a super run. Obviously, the draw was a big help. He got a nice run in the race. Look, he tried really hard. He was a fit horse. Big run.
Yeah, really good run. Last 200 I absolutely motored home. Just had to sort of check across heels. About 200, but no, it was a really good run.
Look, the horse ran well. It was a leader kind of dominated race. We were 3 fence, had a nice run. He presented at the 200, but the tempo of the race just couldn't bring me into the race enough that last 100, but he ran a really nice race.
Super. If he draws a gate, I think he'd probably run second. We did have a nice enough run from the gates 3 wide with cover, but I just had to expose him probably 100 metres earlier than I wanted to. He's sort of little and, he just had that short, sharp sprint, but I wish every horse sort of tried as hard as he did. He tried his guts out, and Cody has a really nice horse in his hands.
Well, that was the beaten jockeys out of the Karaka 2-year-old there at Ellerslie yesterday, but we can hear from the man who co-trained the winner. Sam Burgesson is standing by with you, Emily.
He sure is. He's right beside me. Just been in the ring. You've bought a couple of horses, or Tiakau's bought a couple of horses off the mark already.
Yeah, for sure. The team's been hard at work. It's good to strike early and I suppose get a couple of nice ones on the board. But it's an exciting time for the whole team, and last night was a big thrill.
I was going to ask you that next. Has it sunk in yet, the 2 Karaka Millions winners?
Probably not. I sort of said in the lead up, it's been a bit of a blur. Like the lead up's you've been focusing on the night, and the night went so quick, and you're sort of pinching yourself when it happens, and then to get the 3-year-old as well, it was a massive thrill, and we had a drink with Mark afterwards. It was really cool, and my family were there, so it was really exciting.
Let's talk about them individually. La Dorada, of course, maybe not the one that punters expected to win, but what has she shown you in the build-up?
She's just so tough. She's not overly big, but everything we sort of asked her to do, she kept stepping up. She got beaten in Eclipse there, but we thought there was plenty of improvement to come. She had the right profile, we thought, for the race, and her work leading in was so good. We just couldn't fault her, and every time we asked her, she kept lifting the bar. So she's a tough, gritty little filly who's just going to continue to get better, we think.
And Craig Williams, it was a masterful ride, wasn't it? Just getting her in front and putting her to sleep.
Oh, for sure, a really positive ride. We were so lucky, to have Craig and Blake on the night, to fill in for Opie. Obviously, he's been a massive loss for us, and to get 2 quality jockeys like that, and rides and barriers and a bit of luck on the night, they make the difference.
In terms of what you do with her from here, how's she pulled up, and where do you look for next with her?
Oh, for sure. She'll just have a quiet week, and we'll sort of sit down and debrief. She was pretty tight. She just give it everything. So, we'll let the dust settle a little bit and make a plan from there.
What about the other horses in the race? Obviously, you had a number of others in that 2-year-old event. How have they come through the run, and what did you make of them? Yeah,
it's sort of similar. They all sort of give it everything to Bravery Born. Whether that sort of first up run there sort of took the knock off him a little bit, he sort of came into like he was going to burst through, and he just sort of levelled off a little bit. But look, he ran really well. He was just a touch slow again, and Blake gave him a lovely ride. To be fair, he just sort of levelled off a bit late. And Belle Demont, she was a bit stiff. Bill thought as she was sort of coming into it, she sort of copped a check there and got squeezed out the back. So another really nice filly. She's probably the biggest scopier filly compared to the other 2 who are a bit more compact and a little bit more 2-year-old types. But yeah, they seem to have pulled up well at this stage, which is the main thing.
What is it it that you look for when you hear at the sales in terms of the 2-year-olds? What was it, an 8th win for Tiakau in the 2-year-old race? What are you looking for? What stands out when Dave's looking at horses and yourself?
Oh, for sure. Like, obviously, for us, we really like those early 2-year-old types that can get up and run a bit, but then we want a bit of scope so they can train on and go on to be better horses at 3, 4 and 5. Excuse me. Those Avantages, Melody Bells, they're the real flag bearers for those ones, I suppose. We want a really athletic type that can sort of get up and going for the owners, but then can continue to do it at 3, 4 and 5.
Let's talk about Damask Rose, because she was really impressive. Obviously, she had, I wouldn't call it a flat run, but the race shape didn't suit second up, but wow, she bounced back well.
Yeah, it was sort of easy to knock her, and I know there was a few people that were. It was sort of, I suppose, the quick turnaround and maybe the 59 kilos first up sort of maybe took the gloss off her a bit second up, but when we sat down and sort of planned it out, we sort of thought there was no other way to get her to the Karaka Million peaking without going to that race. And then the trial in between at Matamata, no travel, we thought really suited. The blinkers on, I think, really helped. And the ride was 10 out of 10 from a wide barrier. He did so well to get in one off there midfield. And a massive thank you to the owners as well. It would have been easy to press on to a Guineas after that run at Hawke's Bay, but we thought we tipped her out, and we still think she's almost like the sister Provence, going to get better as even a 4-year-old. She's still like a little bit immature, but the ability's so there, and she's still a little bit raw, and hence lightly raced, but plenty of upside to her, hopefully.
After 2 Karaka Millions wins, what was the celebrations like last night?
Yeah, pretty good. Like I said, me and Mark had a drink there, and my family as well, which was really cool, and some good friends up and things like that with the owners, and it wasn't massive, but it was big enough.
Well done. Enjoy last night, obviously, and today, and hopefully you're buying a few more stars there in the ring over the coming days.
Awesome. Thanks, Emily. Appreciate it.
So Sam Burgesson there chatting to me with regards to his 2 wins yesterday. Great result for him and for all of Team Tiakau.
Yeah, they're doing a stunning job, that is for sure. We'll talk more about the 3-year-old on the other side of a quick break. Plenty more still to come here on Weigh In.
Secrets have been brewing up a storm. Did not expect it to transform.
Welcome back into this special edition of Weigh In from the Karaka Yearling Sales. Day 1 of the sales, massive couple of days ahead for everyone involved in the industry. And the good news, it's stopped raining, at least for now anyway. We just heard from Sam Burgesson about the 3-year-old race yesterday, but let's take a look back at it. Of course, won by Damask Rose.
Number 10 is Damask Rose, electric fresh when winning at Te Rapa. Posted a 6th since then, which is better on numbers than it first looked.
They're about to swing in. Tuxedo gets to the outside. Further away, Billy blinks, and then came Damask Rose, looking to warm up. Also, Bourbon Proof down to the 250. It's dealt with over on the inside from Tuxedo. Here's Damask Rose starting to warm up. Battling on also Bourbon Proof. Damask Rose for Tiakau's coming out after them now. The filly ranged up. Damask Rose will take out the 3-year-olds. Done it again, Tiakau. And they've gone bang bang in the TAB Karaka Millions 2-year-old and 3-year-old.
It's really special to be able to come here on one of New Zealand's biggest days and have a great book of rides for Tiakau, but more importantly get a winner. And yeah, it's just congratulations to Mark, Sam, David, Alice, Karen, Julia, the whole team. It's a big team effort, and this is what they do it for, to win these big races over here. And yeah, I'm just lucky and grateful for the opportunity.
Lovely rider, Blake. She rode her for a touch of luck and just got that split at the right time. And that's why you have these international riders. And, well done to David Ellis. She was actually the last yearling to sell. So anyone on the website, just look for the last yearling. Gee, they're often very good. Imperatrice was, Damask Rose, Avantage. But no, great for Sam and the team. And the good thing about it, Leith Innes and Mick Guerin, they'll have to revise our figures now. We're going a lot better at Ellerslie. She holds the slot, so she'll go straight into that race and probably have a gallop in between races somewhere. We'll work it out later on.
Good to see Mark took his comb with him to the track last night, but well done to Tiako. We see Blake Shin there, and we heard from Sam with Emily. That was a terrific ride from the barrier draw. I know we'll see the race shortly, but he was excellent.
Well, I guess with Mark, he's got to always be camera ready, doesn't he?
True,
when you've got those types of horses in your races, you never know when there's going to be a camera in your face. Look, I thought she was super. She did early in her career really show some ability. She was runner-up in the 2-year-old million last year. Sam Burgesson mentioned her wonderful run at Hawke's Bay and behind Alabama Lass and Captured by Love. We know what those two fillies went on and did. They probably made the right call by putting her aside, giving her a bit of a break. She was great winning first up, probably a little bit disappointing last start. We've sort of heard from the stable as to why that might have occurred, but I just thought it was a great training effort. I think she's better kept fresh. They did that, they put the blinkers on, and she was really sharp again last night.
Yeah, she was terrific, all right, and it was a pretty big night, well, for one of our bosses actually. Emily is standing by with Cam Roger.
Yeah, Cameron Roger had success in the 3-year-old Karaka Million. It's got a pretty nice ring to it. A 3-year-old Karaka winning owner. You must be pretty chuffed with that.
Yeah, we're pretty thrilled. It was a great rush. Obviously, a few of us in the N10 senior management team are involved, and yeah, it was a big night, a big win and a big night.
What was that feeling like? Because she loomed up and then she put them away pretty impressively, didn't she?
Yeah, we kind of thought that if she got even luck in the running, that she'd be there or thereabouts. And she actually had a bit of a dream run, really. Like Blake got her slotted in there really nicely. So I was confident enough turning for home to jump on the table. So if she'd gone down from there, I would have been pretty disappointed and looked a bit embarrassed. So yeah, it was a pretty amazing feeling.
It was a beautiful ride from Blake Shin too. From that wide draw, he got her into a lovely spot.
Yeah, look, he got her into a great spot, and she settled really, really well. So yeah, I knew she'd be dangerous at the top of the turn, and yeah, she showed a great turn of foot.
In terms of what she does going forward, there's an NZB Kiwi on the horizon. She's got the slot. She's going to be hard to beat.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, she got locked in early on by the Tiako team, which was awesome. So a good vote of confidence from them. And yeah, it'll be a pretty special race come Champions Day in March.
With your other hat on, how did you assess the night as a whole in terms of the Karaka Million, the World Pool? Of course, some really big things going on.
Yeah, it was fantastic. I think getting those international jockeys over and racing, as they have for a few years now, but getting them back. Seeing Chris Waller bring a horse over and do so well, amazing for us here. Hopefully spurs him on to bring more into the future. And yeah, seeing the Tiako team get back on track at Ellerslie and really show everyone what they're made of on that new course was really awesome. So yeah, all in all, the night was a fantastic success.
It sure was, and a 3-year-old Karaka Million to boot. Great to have Cameron Roger with us as we get back to you, Guy.
Yeah, thanks for that, Emily. Well done to you, Cam, and everyone involved in the ownership of Damask Rose there with Tiako. Right, let's take a look at how the race unfolded. Jane obviously won well by Damask Rose, and I just mentioned the run that she got from a pretty wide draw, and we can see her here, in the back half of the field.
Yeah, look, she settled in a beautiful position, one off the rail, just behind midfield. It sort of mapped the way we thought in terms of dealt with taking that front runner's role. Romilly was really interesting, ridden forward outside the leader. Fun Never Sets and the Go Racing colours sort of settled in the trail. Tuxedo had a great run in the 1-1, but did have a horse to the outside of him, which was Bell Sand. Jumped well out of the barrier, Bell Sand, came back a pair, couldn't get in, so was trapped wide. Tuxedo just wanted to overdo it a little bit in the trail, and as we can see, dealt with green in the home straight. So while there were horses in the race that weren't doing things 100% right, Damask Rose was. She got that beautiful run in transit. Blake Shin was able to track into the race in behind Bourbon Proof, came off at his heels, and then it was just a matter of her balancing up and accelerating. And look, she's found the line really nicely, but there's a little bit to take out of the race in terms of some of those other horses like Dealt With and Tuxedo. I think Tuxedo likely to be pushing on to a derby. He looks like a derby type. He's probably going to have to work a little bit more on his racing manners and just learning to come off the bridle just a touch. And Dealt With, he's a very raw individual. He's a lovely horse, but he's still very raw and still doing a lot wrong in his racing.
All right, and let's hear from the beaten jockeys out of that 3-year-old, starting with Joe Doyle on Tuxedo.
Yeah, look, fantastic run. Noble effort. He's still a bit green. He's still a bit unfurnished. He's going to be a horse we're going to have a lot of fun with.
I'm absolutely delighted with him. We got into a nice rhythm. He's still got a lot to learn. Only his third start. He's got a very big future ahead of him. Very green up the straight. He handled the ground, which was a question. He's answered that. He goes on quick ground. He's very versatile. He's got a big future.
Yeah, I thought it was a really good run considering the race was a bit of an afterthought for the horse. I thought he hit the line really well.
Yeah, he raced well enough today. He's followed the winner, top of the straight off, come out to the middle of the track. He felt like he was going to really sprint, but he just sort of, he just didn't really, well, he didn't stop, but he just didn't quicken. So just talking to Andrew when I got off him, thinking he might just be better suited to a shorter trip. He just doesn't round it off after a sort of mild sort of trip, but he didn't disgrace himself.
So it was Damask Rose from Tuxedo, Dealt With and Bourbon Proof, and obviously there was some news yesterday morning, a few hours before the first race, that Dealt With had been picked up in that clock-worthy slot for the NZB Kiwi. You just talked about he was pretty green in the straight, but he looks like a really, really nice horse that could be very suited to this race.
Oh, look, I think that he's a horse that we can watch going forward, and he's just going to get better and better with a bit more time and a bit more racing. He's just got to learn a little bit more ring craft, and I think he's going to be a really smart individual. Look, the puzzle pieces are coming together in terms of the New Zealand Bloodstock Kiwi, of course, dealt with a slot. We did hear that there'll be an announcement on Monday regarding another slot holder that's made a decision and done a deal around another 3-year-old, but there's still a lot to play out over the next few weeks as we build into the race, and there's still a number of horses available to slot holders. I know there's still some work being done with some horses across the Tasman, Bjorn Baker with Perfumist. I've heard Linebacker in conversations around the race. He's a really nice individual. He's been gelded in between racing preparations, but look, it's going to be really interesting to see how the next few weeks play out, and it's building towards a wonderful race day.
Yeah, well, talking to Bjorn yesterday, I think he was pretty keen to have something in that race, so that's certainly one to watch. Alrighty, let's move on to, well, one of the real highlights of the night, and that was, of course, our Group 1, the last race on the card, and it was just won magnificently by Crescetti in a stunning edition of the Railway.
Number 3 is Crescetti, an inside draw. He maps really well when it comes to the speed.
Hang on. Gates open, let's bring it on. They turn for home, 4:50 to go, and it's Babylon Berlin. Alabama Lass, the 3-year-old filly, ranges up on the outside, 2 lengths away, Crescetti, then Luberon, further back, Bonnie Lass, captured by Love warming up. Alabama Lass, Babylon Berlin, look at Crescetti coming out after them, then Luberon, Alabama Lass still in front, Crescetti's coming after it, coming with it, Luberon, it's Alabama Lass and Crescetti, they hit it! Crescetti right on the line. It was the fist in the air by the Wizard of Woz, Warren Kennedy, which told you he believes, and I believe, Crescetti's got up right on the line from a very game filly, an Alabama Lass.
Oh, unbelievable. I thought he was battling at the 200. He was grabbing the ground like he does when it's a wee bit wet, but he just tried and stuck his neck out. Absolutely fantastic. I was so confident, not taking anything, I'm going to pray for the winner at Trentham. I was so confident of winning the Telegraph. Friday night I went to bed happy. Saturday morning I woke up like this and disaster. But he come back and he's just, I've had the luxury this week of backing off him. He's just done so well, and he's just a super horse. Very special for me and Aaron and all the staff and everyone connected to the stable. Really, really good. It's a big thrill.
It's absolutely, it means the world, you know. Everyone knows that Daniel was instrumental in getting me here. Crescetti and I have got a fantastic bond. You know, his prep this time in hasn't been the best, you know. He just hasn't stepped up, and last time I rode him, I just said to Dan, he said, look, he's sort of getting there really too easy, and he's just getting cruisy on me. He's lifting his head up. He's not really attacking the line. Let's try a pair of blinkers. And I mean, you saw the gallop. I couldn't not hold him in that gallop, and today, with a good speed on, I was able to just sit off behind him, and geez, boy, did he attack that line. He wanted to win. The old Crescetti's back for sure.
It means a lot. He's had an up and down season, Crescetti, this year, and just a minute, he really tried hard. He tried his guts out, he stretched out, the neck came out, and he just wanted to win. And when he's in that mood, nothing stops him. They've peaked him on the right day. We were peaked 3 weeks ago. Hard to pick up from Wellington and come back again and repeat, but they've done it, and the horse has done it, and eternally grateful to him.
I love seeing that grin on Daniel Narclay's face. I also really like that line from Warren Kennedy. The old Crescetti is back for sure. What a stunning performance it was. And Emily, I think, is standing by now with Daniel Narclay.
I sure am. He's right beside me, and as Guy Havelt was just saying, the old Crescetti is back, and that's a pretty good feeling.
It really is. He stuck his neck out. He wanted to win yesterday, and Warren's thinking around putting blinkers on him, and Danny and Aaron did a great job, and the horse did the rest.
Sounded like Danny was really confident in the build-up. Is that the messaging you were getting?
Very much so. He was confident for the Telegraph. The rain came at the wrong time. We thought we might be a plate again, Sam, on last night, but he got away with it, got off the rail, and just a magic ride, and he's taken us on a magic ride.
I'm sure he has. He's so tough too, isn't he, with what he does? He just knows where the line is, and he wants to win so much.
He does, and it just, he did that with at Ruakaka beginning of the season as well on that off track, and I just wonder if it sort of found the bottom of him a little bit, and but Danny and Aaron have really looked after him, and just so relieved that he's come back and come back so well.
What's that Group 1 winning feeling like? Because you had it, of course, in the Guineas, and you've experienced it again. I'm sure it doesn't get old.
No, it doesn't. Geez, I was watching replays till 2 in the morning. I'm not ashamed to tell you, but it was great. The Guineas, he's $1.40 shot. It was a lot of relief. This one, there was not a huge amount of expectation. The rain came. You just, what will be, will be. And but look, he's done us proud again, and we're just privileged to be part of the ride.
What's the messaging been like from Danny around what you do with him next? What's sort of the plan with him?
He seems to have pulled up well. Didn't leave much last night, even after the late night. Probably pulled up better than I did, to be fair. But he'll head towards the BCD in a couple of weeks' time. So 1400, we think, is going to suit him even better. So we'll keep our fingers crossed.
A Group 1 at Ellerslie on Karaka Million night has a pretty good ring to it, doesn't it?
Oh, it really does. It was such an excitement last year at the Old Man's Door when he turned up fresh, but to do it in the Group 1 on the railway, it's an iconic race, and he's just privileged to be part of the ride he's taken us on.
Enjoy the victory, and I hope you buy some more champions here today and sell a few as well, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Well, Lot 18's about to go through the ring. Big pedigree update with the family, so fingers crossed.
We better let Dan go back and see that horse go through the ring. This was a stunning edition of the race. Great for Daniel, by the way, a guy who gives so much to the industry, so fantastic for him. But this lived up to the hype, didn't it? 2 stars going hammer and tongs at each other, and I thought Luberon's run was huge as well.
I actually really liked that Daniel Narkley said he really stuck his neck out and wanted to win, because that was my take from the race, that he actually showed a real will to win. He had, again, a really nice run in transit. I know they're a little bit concerned with the rain that came down. They wanted to keep off the rail. Warren Kennedy obviously executed that to a T, and he got the splits when he needed them, and there's no doubt the horse really stuck his neck out and tried. A couple of really nice runs. You mentioned Luberon. Unfortunately, again, things didn't go her way in transit. She was caught wide from the barrier, wide on speed, but I thought for her to finish off the race like she did was super. Alabama Lass, we know she's a really smart 3-year-old filly. She sat outside Babylon Berlin. I thought Vinnie Colgan was very positive out of the gates. He showed a real intent to want to lead. He got to the front and he sort of put the brakes on a little bit. Sam Spratt sat outside of him. Alabama Lass probably got racing a little bit keen. Probably would have quite liked to have seen her challenge for the lead and even have gone round, and she's a fast filly, and I think she's probably at her best when she can dictate terms and put the other horses under pressure. So look, in hindsight, perhaps it would have been better for them to show a little bit more urgency. I'm not sure what the race instructions were from Ken Kelso, so I apologise if that's what they intended to do, but I just thought she sat on the bridle a little bit strong, and that may have taken away a little bit from her finish, but she was certainly brave finishing into second. Captured by Love. I didn't really know what to make of her run. She had a nice run in behind them. She was off speed. She didn't really make up too much ground in the home straight, but I thought a fantastic result for the team. As we say, it's always nice to follow good horses. He was an exceptional 3-year-old. He's had some ups and downs over the last 12 months, Crescetti, but to see him back claiming another Group 1 victory was really nice for the horse and really great for the connections.
Yeah, too right. I also thought Waitak was very, very good running on late in that race after a few maybe questions around his performances in his last couple of races, and he finished off that race really nicely. Alrighty, we're going to get you off to a break, but plenty still to come here on Wayne. We'll look at the other winners out of Ellerslie.
Dalio in front. Dalio wins the first. Here comes Orchestral. She's back in the winning groove, Orchestral. In Chris Waller does it on Asada.
The best part's what we don't know. Take a little step into the unknown. Everybody's trying to tell me no, no. I wanna bless the rains and dance away like Toto wherever I go.
Welcome back into the special edition of Weigh-In from the Karaka Yearling Sales, but we can continue to look back at what unfolded at Ellerslie last night, and this was one of the highlights on the night for me. There was so much doubt, I suppose, about Orchestral and whether she was still the Orchestral that we hoped she was, and this proves that she is still that horse.
Yeah, I think the doubt is really interesting. It's always really tough for a 3-year-old filly, particularly one like Orchestra, who was big and rangy and was probably always going to need time to mature and grow into her frame. I think the knockers came a little bit early with her. I like how patiently she's been handled by Roger James. Things didn't go right for her in the spring, but I actually thought her fresh up run at Ellerslie a fortnight ago had so much merit. She looked exceptional in the yard. She certainly developed and come on for this racing preparation. And I agree with you. I think it's a real highlight yesterday to see her back in winning form. And I mentioned it with Chris Shetty, but it's just so good for racing when you can have horses like her that are flag bearers here in New Zealand. And she's already been across the Tasman and done it as a 3-year-old winning the Vinery. So look, I'm excited about what she has in store for her over the next couple of months.
Well, let's potentially find that out right now. Emily has Robert Wellwood with her. We've got no audio there, so I'm not quite sure what is going on. We'll try and get back to Robert Wellwood with Emily very shortly, but let's maybe take a quick look at the race before we go to them. Thought Craig Grills' ride was excellent.
Yeah, it's funny, I was actually having a chat to Roger James in the tie-up stalls prior to the race, and he said, I would have much rather drawn barrier 7 or 8 than drawn barrier 3, just given that she is a mare that is a little bit slowly away from the barriers, gives them a lot more options when she's drawn out. He said his fear was that she was going to be buried back on the fence fallback, and that's pretty much exactly how it unfolded, and I think most people had her mapped there. So there's really nothing Craig could do but ride a patient race. There was a little bit going on in front of him, to be fair. There's a couple of runners that over-raced in the running. Out of stock, certainly one of those. He never really settled throughout the run, blinkers on for the first time. But look, he just made all the right decisions at the right time with her in terms of getting her off the rail when the opportunity presented itself. And his comments after the race were really interesting. He was like, I don't want to be arrogant, but I was on the best horse in the field. And look, he was on the best horse in the field, and he rode her that way. He was patient. He knew what he had underneath of him, and he just let the race unfold in front of him. I thought her run was terrific, and it was really, really nice to see her back in winning form. Look, outside of that frost fear, didn't fare very well in running. She was wide throughout, didn't have a lot of luck, solidify the same. Bourbon Empress was probably the disappointing horse out of the race. She was vetted post-race, and she had signs of a respiratory infection, so certainly some excuses for her in the running. I think the team did say to the stewards that she's likely to go for a spell now. Moss and Vader, huge run from last. His sectionals will be outstanding, and I thought Mary Sham brave again as well, but take nothing away from Orchestral. She was the class horse in the field, and it was just good to get that result.
Yeah, too right. I thought Mary Sham loses no admirers, that is for sure. We can hear from the beaten jockeys out of the Aotearoa Classic.
Yeah, super. I thought after last start she was unlucky, but when she got out she dashed really good. Got a beautiful run in the trail today, dashed through, and thought I was off and gone, but good mare run her down, but she couldn't have run any better.
Huge run. Jumped a bit slow, had to take back, but ran home huge. Yeah, nice run.
Yeah, it was nice. Jumped, managed to get a nice sit on the trail. Chris wanted us to trail something, which managed to, popped off, and just got run over the last bit.
Absolutely delighted with his run today. He sort of sat down in the gates a bit further back than ideally I wanted to be. But look, it was only his 5th run on soft ground. He's travelled beautifully, he's hit the line very well, and he's got a big future.
He ran well, he hit the line nice. He's a horse I think you'll appreciate further, so it was a good effort from the back.
Yeah, so orchestral from Mary Shan, Moss Invader and Yusei Dorsey. We will get to Robert Wellwood very shortly. Look, I just loved the smile, just going back to the pressure, I suppose. I loved the smile on Roger James's face afterwards and the emotion that he showed, and the smile on Craig Grill's face actually when she crossed the line. It just felt like that weight was just lifted.
Yeah, certainly. I guess there's no doubt the team feel a little bit of pressure when you've got a mare of her calibre. But look, I think she's absolutely in the best stable for us to see the best results from her. I think Roger James is a master, particularly with these mares that you have to be a little bit careful with and, you know, nurse along, and he's done just that. He's given her the time she needs, and look, I think they will continue to get results on the racetrack with
Well, speaking of that stable, let's try again. Emily, you've got Robert Wellwood.
Yeah, we're going for round 2 here, Guy. Hopefully a little more successful. Rob, an incredible evening, no doubt. Orchestral back at her very best.
Yeah, it was. It was great to see her back. Yeah, there was probably a few people doubting. We were pretty happy, as we'd said all week. We were happy with her, but yeah, good to see it happen. The proof's in the pudding, and yeah, she put her hand back up.
What's that like? Because no doubt you do feel a little bit of pressure, even though you know your mare so well. I'm sure there is pressure during the week off that run.
Yeah, there is. I mean, I think if you really pulled it apart, all her runs, aside from the last one in Melbourne, that was a real head scratcher. The first run wasn't bad, your sectionals and weight and so on and so forth. We've talked about it enough. I think you'd be a hard critic to have said it was a bad run. She had six kilos more than a horse that won the stakes race 2 starts before, and they went at absolute walking speed. So we were happy that the run was okay, and we were happy that we were the best horse in the race yesterday, back at set weights and back over a mile. So, but a big thrill to get it done.
And she certainly performed like the best horse in the race, and you could see the elation from Craig Grills over the line. Obviously gave him a real thrill too. Yeah,
well, he gave her one hell of a ride, so I think he was stoked. The owners were very happy, and yeah, there's nothing like winning on a big night like that.
You guys know how to win on a big night like that. What's that feeling like, achieving success on such a night with such a big atmosphere?
Yeah, it's incredible. Like, you do a lot of work going around the sales trying to buy the right horse, and when it comes off, it is very thrilling. We've got some great owners, and even owners that weren't involved in the horses running last night, I think, still would have been sitting at home and cheering us on. So it's a big credit to all of our staff and all the owners in the stable, because it is a huge thrill.
What do you do with her from here? Where does she go next?
Look, we've still got to make that call. It's either 2 weeks to the Herbie Dyke or 3 weeks to the mile at Ellerslie. More than likely go 2,000 metres, but just would have rather 3 weeks to be going there. But yeah, I'd say probably the Herbie Dyke.
And a quick word on Dealt With. He was very impressive when finishing 3rd.
Yeah, he was. We've got to be really proud of him. It's only his 3rd start, and he sort of shied at the whip as George pulled it through. Had he not done that, we might be talking about 2 winners, but if I had wheels, I'd be a bicycle. So it was very good, and I think he's going to learn more, and we're looking forward to the Kiwi.
Well, I won't hold you up anymore. Get off and buy some more stars, but well done for last night.
Thank you, appreciate it. Cheers.
Yeah, and look out for lot 345 at the sales. That is the full sister to Orchestral going around in these sales a little bit later on, so that is certainly one to watch. One of the other features on the night last night was the Group 2 Westbury Classic. This was won by Conasana, the one Chris Waller horse that he brought over, and what do you know, he manages to take home a win.
Yeah, look, a superb effort, particularly given where she ended up in transit, crowded coming out of the barrier. Then obviously Rory Hutchings just took his medicine and was very patient at the tail of the field, but she did race it in some restricted room coming into the home straight. She had to make a run between a couple of horses, Imperial Review and Skew Whiff, and it was pretty tight, the gap that he elected to take, but she accelerated through and managed to get her nose down at the right time. She's a mare that actually came here with some really nice form behind her in New Zealand, back in Australia, back in the spring in Melbourne. She was placed in a 1400 metre Group 3 event. Off the back of that, we saw her at Wyong last start, picking up Group 3 over the mile. So she'd actually come into the race with some really nice form, and as we said before, Chris Waller wouldn't be bringing her here to make up numbers. She was trained to the minute, as you would expect from a master trainer. She looks superb in the yard, particularly since she hadn't raced since the end of December. So I thought a terrific training feat and a great achievement for Chris too, and I'm sure it meant something to him after 20 odd years picking up another win here on New Zealand soil.
Well, one of the reasons why we wanted to do the show out here this morning is so we can get our great guests, and Emily, you have one of them in Chris Waller.
I do. I have Chris Waller standing here beside me, and Jane just made a very good point, Chris. We think it's around 20 years since your last win in New Zealand. What a night to bounce back.
Yeah, it was. What's happening in New Zealand in the last 12 months, I guess, with Entain coming on board and some good governance and some good leadership. Yeah, things are really improving in New Zealand, and I've just seen this day grow from its inception. What the Vela family have done in New Zealand Bloodstock has made this race day into probably the biggest race day in New Zealand, and I see there's others coming up like the Kiwi and rebirthing the Derby and Auckland Cup. So yeah, it's important that we get horses over here to support New Zealand, and yesterday's win was good. It was a good story. Debbie Kapitas and her family, Wappet Bloodstock, were involved with my career right from the early days, and they own the horse, and Rory Hutchings riding it. Rory has done a lot of riding for us in Sydney, and it's been great to see him do so well back here in New Zealand. And we stayed at Cambridge Stud, who we've got a great association with. We've just been so well looked after, so it was a really special win.
Tell me about Conasana and why her profile sort of led you to bring her here.
Well, timing more than anything. So I think this day will probably evolve and get bigger and better. I could see it turning into probably a 2-day meeting and having more Group 1 races. And it's important. We've got people here to purchase horses and reinvest in yearlings, and there's no greater way to get people here with a race meeting. Otherwise, do you come for the sales? Well, not everyone comes for a horse sale, but people love the racing. They love the New Zealand hospitality. It's second to none in the world. And getting people here and showcasing New Zealand racing. Like, New Zealand's got amazing horses, amazing horse people, trainers, jockeys, and staff. And I don't really think people appreciate how good they are at what they do until you actually have to take them on. So I can see the day turning into something big. A few more Group 1s, perhaps a Saturday into a Saturday with the sales in between, without upsetting the rest of New Zealand. But I think working together, you can really showcase New Zealand racing.
Tell me about the mare that you brought to New Zealand, Conasana. It was a really gutsy win, and she had the right profile to salute. Yeah,
so timing with her, she's been up and ready to race, where a lot of our better horses are still spelling. Well, not spelling, but they're trialling. So, like Chevia Sistina's, Fangirls and Switzerland's, they're racing basically on the 15th of February, so they're not quite there. So we can only really bring a certain amount of horses, and she was one of them, and she was in winning form, and just look the right setup. And she's obviously got speed, and the Australian horses are pretty good at speed. I'd be scared to take the New Zealand horses on over 2,000 metres, but she was the right horse.
Before we let you get out of the rain, what do you do with her next? Is she staying here?
She'll have a few days at Cambridge Stud at Lance Noble's stable, thanks to Brendan and Joe Lindsay. See how she is in a few days and see if we can win another race with her.
Well, I'll let you get out of the rain and buy some more fast horses. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Good dedication from both of you there, Emily and Chris. Great to have him. Interesting thoughts around potentially in the future, maybe they add a second day to that Karaka Millions night. But let's just take a look at one more race out of the meeting. That was, of course, the Cambridge Stud Al Manzoor Trophy. This was the first race on the evening, won by Ardalio, who you can see there is sitting just in the back half of the field.
Yeah, again settled in a lovely position, won off the rail, come into the race at the right time and showed a really clean pair of heels. I think hearing from jockey post-race, he thought the horse was quite explosive in the way that she finished the race off, and even Stephen said they've been holding her together. She paraded in that vein. I've seen her on a couple of occasions now, and she is a horse that gets quite fresh in the mounting yard. She sort of pumps herself up and builds herself up for competition. So look, I thought a terrific effort from her. A little bit of synergy around the fact that she's by Drossen. He won at the meeting 6 years ago, picked up a stakes race over 1,200 metres. It was a 6 stakes winner for the sire. Libertania puts a lot into this industry in terms of his investment, both breeding and racing. So a really nice result for him on a meeting where there's a lot of eyes on our racing here in New Zealand. Poetic Champion, he just did a few things wrong in transit, sort of hung out around the final bend, moved to strike, a little bit unlucky, held up, had to check off the heels of Poetic Champion. But look, there was a couple of really nice runs in behind in that particular race. I think you'd need to watch it a couple of times, but there were certainly some eye catchers. Horses like Hanky Alpha and Chiha, I think, is from the O'Sullivan Scott stable. So a little bit to take out of that one.
Yeah, there certainly was. Those two horses particularly caught my eye. Alrighty, we'll take a quick break here on Weigh In. Still plenty to come on the other side.
Purton's off his back now with View of the World of Good Enough. Eternal Fortune still there, and then came All Greek to Me sinking back through the field. Prawns 11 staying on. A Emeritus Bexo down the outside. It's Purton in front with View of the World. Zach Purton, a 7-time champion, a legend, and now the king rewrites the record books here in Hong Kong. It's 1814 history at Happy Valley. Zach Purton is about to ring the bell for the winning most jockey here in Hong Kong racing history. A big round of applause for the 7-time champion jockey here in Hong Kong.
He's a gun, isn't he, Zach Purton? And when he jumps on a horse and he produces, you know he's going to produce more often than not. And Emily, you were in Hong Kong not too long ago. I might just come to you for your thoughts around that achievement from Zach.
Oh, it's a remarkable achievement, and it's a record that stood for so long. I thought it was great scenes. Of course, Douglas White congratulating Zach Purton. It's a target that he's really set his mind to, Zach, and to see him achieve it and tick that off his goals list is quite remarkable. It's obviously been not helped, but encouraged by Kai Ying Rising, who is such a formidable force at the moment in those sprinting ranks. I had the pleasure of seeing him race. He's an incredible New Zealand-bred horse. He's adding to the intrigue up there. And for Zach, who has quite openly said that he is coming to the end of his time in the saddle, this is one thing that he wanted to hold, one record he wanted to his name. And to see him do it is great. I love the celebrations. I love the fanfare around that success. The Hong Kong crowd, they know how to do it.
Yeah, they certainly know how to do the glitz and glamour, don't they? You mentioned Kai Ying Rising there, Emily, and Jane, once again, he was excellent last weekend. Where do you see him going from here? And people are talking about an Everest. Would you think that's an option for him?
Oh, I think it's definitely an option for him. There's no doubt that he's a potential superstar up in Hong Kong. He's got a lot to come ahead in terms of his career. He's only a lightly tried sprinter, so I think it's really exciting what we can expect from him in the future. Why wouldn't you be looking at an Everest given the prize money? Of course, trained by David Hayes. David knows the landscape in Australia really well. I'm sure he's got an understanding of how his horse will shape up in Australia. And at the moment, there's not really a dominant sprinter, so probably the perfect opportunity to head down there and take them on in Everest. And I guess talking David Hayes and Kai Ying Rising, talking of Australia yesterday, and it was his sons, the Hayes brothers, that unleashed a nice 2-year-old as well.
Yeah, exactly. Let's take a look at the Blue Diamond previews out of Australia yesterday. Shining Smile, the first of them there at Sandown.
Yeah, look, he had a pretty good run in transit, obviously aided by the rail. It was interesting, 2 horses outside of him never crossed at any point through the run, so the 3 of them basically shared the lead. Shining Smile was the one that was able to show a clean pair of heels, and he actually kicked away on the rest of the field. I thought it was a good effort. Talking to the team yesterday, they said that he's a very mature individual, and physically he takes obviously the training that's required at this point in his career, and at this point they're looking at pushing on to a Blue Diamond prelude into the Blue Diamond, and they're a family that's had incredible success in terms of their results in the Blue Diamond over the years. I thought My Gladiola, who took out the fillies edition of the preview, was really impressive. On time they ran quicker than what the boys did in their race. Obviously a bigger field probably aided that, but My Gladiola, she was on debut for John McArdle. She is a really big, robust, impressive daughter of I'm Invincible, and she again was really dominant in the finish. In fact, the first 3 home sort of pulled away from the remainder of the field, and I know John McArdle was saying to the media that he knew that she was going to go there and run a really bold race, but the way that she won it and the way that she beat her rivals, he said he knows how much improvement there is to come from her, so that's really exciting for her going forward. And of course John McArdle is on the complex here at Karaka at the moment, looking for another horse to take home to Melbourne, but he's got a really nice 2-year-old filly on his hands.
Yeah, all the big players are here at Karaka, aren't they? Great to see that. Right, let's get to our moments of the week, and Jane, I'm going to throw it straight back to you for yours.
Oh look, I thought it was just wonderful yesterday to see Conasana take out the Westbury Classic for Chris Waller, as we mentioned. Nearly over 2 decades since he trained winter in New Zealand, since he was actually training on New Zealand soil. He has obviously only had a handful of horses run in New Zealand over that period of time. He's picked up a couple of wins at Group 1 level, a couple of placings at Group 1 level. So to see him actually train a winner was terrific, and I think the whole story around it was wonderful too, with Wappet Bloodstock, Debbie Peterson, Rory Hutchings. So terrific result for the Waller camp. Great for racing in New Zealand that he comes here and he patronises our races.
Yeah, my moment was last night, and it was actually 2 champions, but spoiler alert, one of them is coming up. But Orchestral, just seeing her back to her best. She is a champion horse, and yes, there was a little bit of pressure and a little bit of speculation, I suppose, and a bit of doubt from some people, and she just quashed all of that in one go. She was magnificent. I love seeing great horses do their thing, and she is one of those, that's for sure. Emily, what is your moment of the week? I think we can probably guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Crescetti is my moment of the week. The Group 1 success, it was so good to see him back at his best. Isn't he tough? He's got so much heart, hasn't he, Crescetti? And to see him win was excellent. And I think for the team, and Daniel Narkley, such a well-known and well-liked person in the industry, great for him as well. Just smiles all round in terms of the Group 1. Great to see both Orchestral, as you said, and Crescetti back at their brilliant best.
Yeah, too right. Completely agree with both of those. Right now it's time for our Weight Watchers, our horses that we try to point you towards, who maybe necessarily, well, they could have won, but they didn't necessarily win, but maybe ones that might win coming up. Jane?
I'm going with Move to Strike. I was really taken by him on race day. I think he's a colt that knows he's got a little bit of ability. And he was a little bit unlucky in running, having to come across the heels and be checked at a pretty crucial moment in the race. He probably could have been prominent in the finish. Obviously, we know that he's a Group 1 winner as a 2-year-old, so the class is there. I do know he's had a few issues, does race particularly well fresh. Interested to see what the team do with him next, but I think he's one that can be winning again quite quickly.
Yeah, I was with Jaffe out of the Westbury Classic. I thought this was an absolutely enormous run for 5th. She was about 3 wide the trip. At one stage coming around the bend, she was about 7 wide. And just look at how I thought she hit the line really, really nicely. She didn't in the end finish in the feature in the finish, but just such a huge run from where she was. And if she had got a better trip, possibly a better draw and a better trip, I thought she would have finished right in the money there. Alrighty, Emily, what's your Weight Watcher for us?
I went with Hanky Alpha as my Weight Watcher, a really eye-catching run, and I think this horse has got a lot more in store. We've seen lots of talk around the NZB Kiwi and exciting announcements coming up, and I think Hanky Alpha is one that could really find its place in the race. And love what the Lance O'Sullivan, Andrew Scott team have been doing with their 3-year-olds. They've got a formidable team in play, and I think how Hanky Alpha can play a big part up in distance in the coming months.
Yeah, good on you, Emily. We'll let you go and rest up a little bit. I think you've done God's work this morning. Well done to you. We'll wrap it up there, Jane. Great show. Great to be out here. A couple of massive days ahead for the industry.
Yeah, look, I think it's fantastic that we can be here and that we can obviously speak to people live on course. Everybody's here, and it's nice to get the thoughts of connections a day after. But it was a fantastic night's racing, and as you say, it's going to continue over the next few days here at New Zealand Bloodstock Sales Complex.
Yeah, and over the next few weeks for the industry as well, of course, leading into the BCD Sprint, the Herbie Dyke, and then of course leading on to Champions Day there at Ellerslie as well in early March. We can't wait for all of that. Thanks very much for joining us today. We'll see you next week.